Welcome to the third video in our new series about snowboarding, where Andreas and I explain snowboarding, called Chris and Andreas Explain Snowboarding. The first video that we did was all about snowboard noses.
And the second video on my channel was all about snowboard profiles.
This video is about the snowboard specification that often gets overlooked. It's a bit boring, a bit maths heavy. The side cuts.
Side cut, schmide cut. I'm the consumer. Explain it to me.
Well, Jimmy, the side cut. The side cut, along with the board shape and profile, is one of the integral parts of the snowboard that dictates the way it feels and turns.
So Chris, what is a side cut and why is it in meters?
So if you take your snowboard and lay it on the ground, you notice it's got some curves to it. Now if you take those curves and you continue them around, eventually it's going to form a circle, and the side cut is the radius of that circle.
Ah.
A few moments later.
So if you look at the specs on the back of a snowboard, you will see in there that the side cut normally has a number between 4 and 13 meters, with the vast majority being in this 7 to 8 meter range. So one question I know is on everybody's mind, Andreas, why would you want a board with a larger side cut?
So I think a board with a larger side cut is going to equate to longer turns. It's going to be better for that person who's going high speeds and therefore is doing those long arcing turns that you can really lay into.
And then you see boards with smaller side cuts in areas where you don't need to be going as fast and you want a little bit more agility, like in the park or in the powder and trees, and everyone's favorite, the moguls. Here we have two boards of drastically different side cuts.
So yeah guys, this is the Nitro Cannon and I had the pleasure of riding this thing last season a couple of times. This would be an example of a very long turning side cut. So when I rode this thing, I noticed that it naturally just wanted to drive you into these really long arcing turns, and yeah, it wanted to go fast. This board, when you bring it into its turn, feels like you can live there. So
at warp speed.
Yeah, at Mach 10. So you totally don't even realize how fast you're going. We got pulled over by speed patrol a couple of times. Alternatively, guys, I took this thing through my favorite area, Kybers, which is like deep woods, and it was a nightmare. The turning radius on this thing was not agile enough, and it was really hard to bring it around between the trees.
And the board that I have here is the Drone Storm Chaser, which is actually my powder board, which I rode a lot through Kybers, every time I went through Kybers. And I love this board because it is super agile, edge to edge. You can definitely take it through harebrained runs and come out the other side in one piece, which is why you want that smaller side cut.
I'm the king of harebrained runs. When you get forced to follow me down through the woods.
Have a shorter side cut, because that way you can make last minute decisions and pull them off, which is a lot harder to do with that board.
Yeah.
But not impossible.
So typically there are two types of side cuts, radial and progressive.
Radial refers to the fact that the curve on the snowboard is consistent. And this gives you a nice circular turns, a very constant feel on the snowboard as you're going through the turns. And it's definitely the traditional shape and the shape on the snowboards that we used to ride when we were growing up.
Yeah guys, and then there's progressive side cuts. And that's where the actual shape of the curve of the board changes throughout the curve. So in the tip and the tail, it's a little bit more aggressive, so it's easier to bring that board into its turn, but then it mellows out towards the middle portion of the side cut so that you can really lay it onto edge.
Yeah, so when you go really fast and leaning into it, you get those big, large turns, and then when you're going slower, you get those shorter, tighter turns.
It's like a pick your own adventure book.
So why would you choose a progressive over a radial?
I think progressive gives you a little bit more choice. It's more flexible, and you can choose whether you want to do, more of those smoother short turns, or if you really want to get those aggressive, angled, deep carves. Versus with a radial side cut, you're going to get more of that classic traditional feel. It's more consistent and constant, as you're always traveling at a constant rate of angulature.
Yeah, and if you look at the trends that are coming out with the board profiles that we were talking about in the other video, where you're getting a lot of these hybrids, which offers you that flexibility in where you want to use your board, you're seeing that in the Sidecut too. That progressive Sidecut offers that flexibility, especially if you have one snowboard to do it all. That's kind of where you're at.
It's more versatile for sure.
Yeah. So now we're going to do a deep dive into Salomon's lineup, not affiliated, because they have a ton of marketing terminology and lingo and a lot of different sidewall profiles.
Yeah, and those different sidewall profiles are designed for various different types of riding style and environment.
Yeah.
Alright guys, so first up we've got the Salomon Dance Hall, and this is a great example of a radial sidecut. It's a freeride snowboard that's designed for that classic-inspired traditional snowboarder.
Yeah, it's cool that it's like a new board, but they're going old school.
Yeah.
Like flipping it around.
Yeah, even though it's a brand new shape,
Topsy-turvy.
even though it's a brand new snowboard, they made the active decision to go with that classic radial sidecut, and so that's really going to give you those traditional vibes.
For those people that like that vibe.
Yeah, you know, if you're that person who's like ourselves, grew up riding in the 90s, this is going to feel like a familiar board to you.
Yeah, it's like a trip in a time machine. Instead of a hot tub, it's a snowboard.
So smooth, consistent, reliable turns.
Alright, and then second up we have the Huck Knife, which has their EQ Rad side cut. And this is like a blending of straight lines with curves. So it's kind of a little bit in between, it's a little bit funky, but the idea here is that it's more for freestyle. The Huck Knife, of course, was super popular last year, and it's probably overall one of the best boards in the park.
Super good park agility, but not overly hooky.
I still think whenever you say hooky, I'm like...
Captain Hook.
Ooh.
Not overly catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright guys, next up we've got the Salomon Super 8, and this is utilizing their quadratic sidecut shape. Very similar to what we were talking about earlier, where it utilizes a blend of different angulatures coming together. What that does is it just gives you a bigger sweet spot and more flexibility to the amount of turns you can do. When I rode this board last season, it was wicked for making some big wide open powder turns, and it was also great for just freeride inspired carving.
And then the last one in Salomon's lineup, it is their most aggressive. It is called the Quadralizer. And they've basically taken the idea of the quadratic and accentuated it even more. So it still has that easy initiation into turn, but especially when you're going fast speeds and you're railing out a carve, it really gets into its own. Andreas, I know you love this board and you rode it.
Yeah guys, I rode an Assassin last season, and it's pretty mellow when you're bringing it into the turn, but then once you get past a certain angle, it just explodes into the turn. It really grips you in, fires you around, and you're surprised how much energy and pop you get out of it.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, there were a couple times where I was like riding along and I like brought it in, and then all of a sudden it was just like, whoa! So I think the important thing to remember is that board companies design their sidecut profiles to be indicative to the type of terrain that it's designed to be used on. Just because you get one type of sidecut profile doesn't pigeonhole you into one type of riding style. You can still take a radial sidecut and use it in the park. You can still take a progressive sidecut and use it for backcountry freeriding. It's not that one limits you, it's just that it's like what it's best for.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw Zeb Powell shredding the Nitro cannon in the park. Just absolutely slaying it, flips rails, huge spins, and kind of contorting and landing his board. I don't know how, but it was amazing. Yeah, and he did that on the Nitro Cannon.
Making it work takes a little longer. Making it work takes a little time.
Just remember, Sidecut is only one part of the recipe that makes up your snowboard with three parts.
Cooking with Chris.
And Sidecut is only one part of the recipe that makes up your snowboard, along with the flex, the profile, and the shape. It is all going in the oven together to produce the board that you feel when you're riding on the mountain.
Alright guys, so I hope that was educational and that you have a little bit better understanding of the different side cuts and how it affects your riding. Thanks so much for watching our video, and if you liked it, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, we're alternating our channels too, so if you haven't gone onto Andreas' channel and subscribed already, there's going to be a link at the end of the video. Yeah guys, and everything going on in the world at the moment, I do think it's important to support your local shop. But if you're not and you are going to buy online, we got affiliate links, so click those and help support us and help us to bring you more content over this winter.
Yeah guys, it doesn't affect the price on your end, it just helps us out. So if you like the stuff that you see on our channel, then click the links and it'll help us keep making more videos to keep doing what we do.
Yeah.
Which is snowboarding and explaining it.
Mostly explaining. Awesome. Thanks guys, see you in the next video soon. Bye!
Bye! Hey Chris, do you think anyone's gonna notice that we had to redo the intro?
Probably. My beard's longer and whatnot. Oh look! The Nitro Cannon, the perfect board for 2020. You have to back up, dude. Maintain social distancing while walking through the village. Stay back! 2 meters! 2 meters!